All right, Unit 11, Worksheet 2B. This is number 14. A lot of students had questions on how to go about doing this particular problem. So let's go ahead and go over this here. Okay, so what we want to do in this problem is that we want to find the vertex. So we're going to have to change this equation into vertex form. That's the first thing that we're going to do, and remember that the vertex is going to be a ordered pair. Okay, so here's how we do it. Here's how we're going to change this equation, y equals x squared minus 12x plus 32, into vertex form. Okay, so keep the y, keep the equal sign, and then what you're going to do is you're going to start a parentheses. You're going to put the x squared part in the parentheses. You're going to put the minus 12x part in the parentheses. And then you're going to leave a space and you're going to close the parentheses. And then whatever the c value is, which is a plus 32, that's going to go outside the parentheses. Okay? And then what we're going to do is, inside the parentheses here, we're going to create a new c value. And it's going to be a plus. And to figure out, and then whatever we put right here, and this is going to be a new c value, we're going to subtract that value outside the parentheses, and that'll essentially balance out the equation. So how do we create a new c value here? Well, we're going to do that concept called completing the square. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the b value, which is negative 12, we're going to divide it by 2, we're going to get a result, that's negative 6, and then we're going to take that and we're going to raise it to the second power, and since that equals 36, whatever that equals right there, that's what we're going to put right here. So we're going to put a plus 36 inside the parentheses, and then outside the parentheses we're going to put a minus 36. Okay, then our next step is going to be we are going to take this trinomial right here, x squared minus 12x plus 36, and what we're going to do is we're going to factor it. Okay, and when we factor a trinomial, think that one of the methods is we're going to use the t-chart. So we're going to take the c value, which is positive 36, and we're going to have to find two distinct pairs of numbers that multiply to make positive 36, but they have to add to make the b value, which is negative 12. Okay, so what are the pairs of numbers that multiply to make 36? There's only a few of them. 1 and 36, 2 and 18, 3 and 12, 4 and 9, and 6 and 6. Now, out of those pairs, which one of them can be added together to make 12? And that would have to be 6 and 6. And you can see the only way to make them negative 12 would be to make both of the 6's negative. So, since negative 6 times negative 6 is positive 36, and since negative 6 plus negative 6 is negative 12, we have our factors. So my problem now factors down into y equals, and then my trinomial is now x minus 6, for one of the factors, and then the other factor is x minus 6 as well. And then outside the parentheses, we're going to have plus 32 minus 36, which is negative 4. And this means we have two sets of x minus 6's. So I get y equals x minus 6 to the second power minus 4. That right there is in vertex form. Okay, so on your homework where it asks for what is vertex form, or what's the vertex form, that's what you're going to put in that area. You're going to say y equals parentheses x minus 6 to the second power minus 4. Now, vertex form gives us our coordinates of our vertex. Remember, this value right here in the parentheses we call the h value. The value outside the parentheses we call the k value. So the vertex is the opposite of h, which would be positive 6, and then the exact value of k, which is negative 4. So my vertex for this equation would have the coordinates 6, negative 4. Okay, so then my next step is, and I'll go ahead and put kind of a box around all of this. So not really a box, but that's going to be the step to put your equation starting in standard form into vertex form, and that's going to give you your vertex. Now my next step is I'm now going to find the x-intercepts of this equation here. Okay, so how do we find the x-intercepts? Well, what we do is we take our equation in vertex form, which is right here, and to find the x-intercepts, what you're going to do is you're going to change the y value into 0. So you're going to make y equal to 0. So your equation becomes 0 equals parentheses x minus 6 to the second power minus 4, and then our x-intercepts are going to be whatever are my answers for this equation for x. So what we're going to do is we're going to solve this equation for x by isolating the x. So my first move would be to add 4 to both sides of the equation. That would cause the 4's to cancel out. And my new equation would be 4 is equal to parentheses x minus 6 to the second power. Then my next step would be to get rid of the second power, and I would do that by taking the square root of both sides of the equation. So the second power would cancel out the square root there, and on the right side of the equation I would get x minus 6. You don't need the parentheses anymore because the second power canceled out. And then the square root of 4 is positive or negative 2. Okay, and then to isolate x, I'm going to add 6 to both sides of the equation. So these 6's would cancel out, and that is going to give me my 2 answers for x, and x is going to have 2 answers. So x is going to be positive 2 plus 6. My other answer is going to be negative 2 plus 6. So that's going to be 8, and negative 2 plus 6 is 4. So my x-intercepts are x is equal to 4, 8. Okay? Now, on your homework, where it asks what are the x-intercepts, here's how you write it. So for the x-intercepts, what you write is, you write the x-intercepts as an ordered pair. Since one of them is x equals 4, you can see it way down there, one of your x-intercepts is the coordinates 4, 0, and then your other x-intercept would be 8, 0, because your other x-intercept was 8. Okay? The next thing you want to do is you want to find your y-intercept. So the way that you find your y-intercept of an equation is, you go back to your original equation, which was in standard form, which was this right here, y is equal to x squared minus 12 times x, or 12x plus 32. And to find your y-intercept, what you're going to do is, you're going to change all the x values into 0. So this equation would become y is equal to 0 squared minus 12 times 0 plus 32, and whatever this equals, that's your y-intercept. So you can see this would equal 0 minus 0 plus 32, so we get y is equal to 32. So your y-intercept, and the way you write your y-intercept is you write it as an ordered pair, and it would be 0, 32. Okay? So that would be your answers there, and then what you need to do is you're going to take these values, the vertex, the x-intercepts, and the y-intercept, and you're going to create a graph out of these 1, 2, 3, 4 points. Okay? So here you can see that I'm making a graph down here. I have my x-axis, I have my y-axis, there we go, and I'm going to scale my x-axis by 1s, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And I'm going to scale my y-axis I'm going to go ahead and scale those by 5. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to, we got negative 5 down here. Then I'm going to graph my 4 points. So my first point I'm going to graph is my vertex, which is the point 6, negative 4. So that's over 6, down 4. Then I'm going to graph my x-intercepts over 4 up 0 and over 8 up 0. And then I'm going to graph my y-intercept over 0 up 32, which would be about right there. And then what I do is I'm going to connect all the dots together in a nice smooth U, and that would be a sketch of the graph of my parabola. Put arrows, and that would be how you do worksheet 2B, number 14.